All right, good people. So we need to talk 23 is back, and I have a guest on. That actually is going to serve two purposes. She's going to be a part of my I'm Coming Home series and my celebration for Women's History Month. So joining me today, I have Miss Karen Lewis. How you doing, Karen?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So it's been a long time. Been a long time. I don't remember the last time I saw you or or anything in Patterson, but it's definitely good to catch up and see what you're doing on Instagram and all over social media. So for the people that do not know you, if you had to describe yourself, how would you describe Karen to somebody new?
Good question. So, for the people that do not know who I am a woman of God. I am a mother of one. I am a serial entrepreneur. For the people that do know anything about me, they might know that I have a business named KTO Shoes that I started back in 2009. I am a marketing specialist for different brands such as Ciroc, Jack Daniels, Crown Royal, LVE Wines, which is John Legend's brand. I do a plethora of things. I'm a serial entrepreneur at the end of the day, Jay. Like I am, my hands are in a few different things.
Okay, so how did you? I'll start here. So how did you start with KTL shoes?
KTO Shoes was something that really just started in the house. So I always been a traveler. So for me traveling, I used to bring things back. Upon me bringing things back, people want to purchase them. So that kicked in the hustle mentality. Coming from Jersey, we all got this hustle in us. If we pursue it, we do. If we don't, then we don't. But we really all, I think, had that hustle from being inner city children.
Mhm.
So the hustle was there always, just for me traveling, bringing things back and selling them. Normally they were shoes and bags. So that revved it up a little bit. Then I remember having a conversation with a coworker and they was asking me if I could do anything in the industry, what would it be? And I said, probably make shoes.
Mhm.
Um, and the person then challenged me, well, why don't you do that?
Mhm.
So here I go. I ordered some shoes that were just like a blank canvas and started adding things to it. Then I started getting sales. Um, in the midst of that, I was selling retail and I was doing customized shoes out of my trunk at the job on my lunch break, on my 15-minute break. Like technically I had a whole shoe store in my trunk. Seriously, back seat was full, trunk was full. The only thing you could sit in was the front seat. So from that, I had met a photographer to do some photography work. And he called me one day at my full-time job and was like, "Hey, there's a store that's available." And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll let somebody know if I'll pass the word out. He was like, "No, for you and your business." I was like, "What business?" I wasn't planning on leaving my job. Here I am, like 23 years old, making a substantial amount of money, almost six figures, and it's just me and my daughter. So there wasn't a need for me to even branch off and say, "Oh, I want to be a business owner." The hustle was good enough for me. I went and I saw the store, Jay, that night. The very next day, I was signing my contract, like 24 hours later.
It was that it was all set in stone for you.
That's how the brand started.
So in the midst of all of that, what do you think in the beginning? What was the hardest part for you as far as KTL shoes goes? Was it the getting the shoes, or was it just figuring out how you were gonna get your merchandise out there? What was the hardest part for you in the beginning?
The hardest part in the beginning is believing that I can,
Okay.
because I was so stuck in the 9 to 5.
Hmm.
I knew what I was getting paid. I knew when I was getting paid. I knew where these health benefits was coming from. It was being comfortable. And when you step out of being comfortable and going to entrepreneurship, you really have to, now you're questioning yourself about all the things that you had answers to. Now it's open ended. What you getting paid this week? I don't know. When you getting paid? I don't know. How you paying that bill? I don't know. It just became all the unknowns. So that for me, that transition from being solid goal as far as what I'm getting and where things was coming from to the unknown, that was the hardest part of the transition.
So for as far as the entrepreneurship goes, at what point did the light bulb go off, or it's just like, okay, I could do this? Was it a couple of months in? Was it a year in? Or, where it was just like, I can really do this? Because we all have grown up, we all wanted to be something else growing up. So when we get to this point where the entrepreneurship kicks in, it's just like, okay, I'm really gonna do this. So at what point did it kick in where you knew that you could do this and this was something that you wanted to do?
I had a conversation with a lady that was um and I really can't even say what her title is, but she was head of a department, African American older woman that I look up to, almost like a mentor. We went to church together. She actually, I went to her church. She was one of my bosses through the company I was working for, and we just had a conversation. And she led me to a scripture in the Bible, and it was just, gosh, it was, I can't remember who the actual Bible character was, which I should know because I just read the scripture the other day. But anyway, in this particular Bible story, um, and I want to say Joshua, but anyway, he was working for a man, and in return, he had wanted the man's daughter to be his wife.
Yeah.
So he worked a substantial amount of years,
Hmm.
and in return, he was like, "All right, after I work these years, I want your daughter. Like that's the only pay that I want."
Hmm.
And she made it correlate with my whole job.
Okay.
Work all these years for other people,
Hmm.
and you're building up their empire. At what point don't you want to build up your empire and it be your baby and not somebody else's baby?
Hmm.
And it was like the light bulb went off. Like, wow, like I'm making money for other people, and these people, it was a at home bit. Well, it started off in a lady's garage,
Hmm.
and about 30 years in, she has this big Fortune 500 company. So it wasn't like it was an unbelievable, situation. It was like, oh my goodness, like I'm working for someone that started this business first in their den, then it went to their garage, and then we have three different locations. So
Hmm.
for her even to relate it back to how she did it, it was like, all right, I can do it. When I tried to resign, the lady that I was working for,
Hmm.
she offered to pay my staff so I could stay working for her.
Oh,
That's when
wow.
the light bulb really went off. Like, if you're willing to pay my staff while I still work for you, that means the same amount of work that I put in for you, I can do for myself.
Yeah.
It all just, when God has you destined to do something, Jay, it's amazing how the pieces just go together.
Oh, yeah. And that's good. And that just shows you what your, at least to the outside person, it just showed you what your worth was to them. That, the fact, because I mean that's amazing that you would be willing to pay your staff so that you could continue to work for her. I mean, and that, like I said, and that's the thing. It's not being afraid to step out, on your own, or step out on faith, because a lot of people, I always say it, I always post it, is that we are our biggest enemy as far as stepping out and being, an entrepreneur, or anything that we want to do to drive us forward, because we'll find every excuse not to do it. Just like I did with this podcast. It's just like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I don't know who I'm going to talk to. Why would I continue to do this? And then it snowballed into, what it is today. And I'm very appreciative of, my praying and my wife's pushing me to do it. My wife has been my engine, because there's been plenty of times where, nah, I don't feel like doing it today. And she like, you got all the equipment and stuff, you might as well go do it. You didn't buy it just to have the equipment sitting there. So So now for your marketing and things that you're still doing the marketing and things, or
I do. I have a marketing agency that is that still we still accept contracts
okay.
for different, like I said, for it's quite a few several different brands. And that business came about the same time I stepped out of corporate,
Mhm.
opened up my store. A few months later, that opportunity fell in my lap as well.
And did you still were you hesitant about that, or because you took that leap with KTL shoes, did that give you did that give you the drive to go ahead and do it, or were you still a little hesitant because it was a new venture?
So that one I wasn't hesitant because it was really was a fill-in position.
Okay.
Um, they needed me to fill in for them. I was already linked up with a promotions company, so it was someone here in the area that was it was a local promoter,
Mhm.
and he would come to my store and put up his flyers, and it would be a point of sales for ticket sales.
Mhm.
So when another person came along and was like, this is a position that's available. It wasn't long term. It was realistically, I was filling in for somebody for like 3 or 4 weeks. I was filling in until they found someone to fill the position. And I was like, all right, well, it kind of goes already with, the other stuff that I got going on. And I did that position, I think it's that 3 or 4 weeks.
Mhm.
And the company I was working with was a third party vendor. The main company and them, they didn't renew the contract, and now the company hired me as a contractor. And I've only been in the game like 4 weeks in. And it was like, "Oh, okay."
Is that drive, that hard work? They saw your dedication to your craft, and they said we have to have her on our staff. So with all of that, about how many hours a day? I don't. You can combine them or separate them, however you want to answer this question. But about how many hours a day are you working between the two companies, or total with both companies?
So KTO Shoes is no longer. I hung that up. I
Okay.
closed out my last store. Um, right? Like I closed out the store prior to COVID,
Mhm.
and I closed down the brand during COVID.
Okay.
Um, So as far as work, I'm never not working. I'm always working. And that's kind of the heartbeat and the mindset of an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
Where someone may see, you know, a empty plate, I'm always seeing a way to make more money or create opportunities. Even create opportunities for someone else. I may see something that's wrong and know somebody that has the answer and call them up like, yo, I got an idea for you. And I'm infamous for that. Like, "You got an idea for me, Kate?" "Yep, sure do, and I'm about to tell you how to map it out." So, with that type of mindset and that type of drive, I'll honestly say, like, I'm always working. There's nights I wake up and I literally have to grab my notepad and write stuff down
Mhm.
every day. That was a this morning situation. Really, last night, I woke up at 11 o'clock and started writing stuff down. So, I'm working all day, every day.
So is it safe to say, because I do this and I just want to know, so what are two things that you keep next to the bed? And I'll answer the question so you know where I'm going with it. For me, I always keep a notepad and a pen and my phone right next to my bed, because I'm like you, I'll be sitting there and something will pop in my head and I'm like, all right, let me jot this down before I lose the idea. So do you keep the pen and pad next to your bed, or your phone, or however you choose to keep your information? Do you work that way also, or
I do. So on my nightstand, it's always normally going to be my cell phone, my Bible, my notepad, my pen, and a glass of water.
always water is very important first thing in the morning?
Yep.
So with all of the things that you do as far as your entrepreneurship and things like that, what are what do you do for me time? Not including your daughter, anything else. What do you do to keep yourself going and active? Because I know as an entrepreneur, you always think, all right, there's always something to do. So what do you do to keep you going, keep yourself motivated, well, keep yourself, to replenish yourself. That's a better question. How do you replenish yourself?
Travel, and I also turned that into a business. So yeah, so before pre-COVID, if you watch my social media,
Mhm.
or I have another platform, KTL Travels, I love traveling all the time. It would rather be a local trip or international trip. I am a traveler. And when I travel, it always gives me a clear canvas.
Okay.
I love being around water. So when I get around water, it's almost like the mind is just freely flowing. So even if I don't go plan on doing any work, Jay, work comes out of it.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's some of the most rewarding situations I could put myself in because it's free thoughts.
Okay.
It's it's not, oh, let me sit down and be structured and get this done. It's just me enjoying sunlight, sunshine, the atmosphere, and just getting the thoughts in. So traveling definitely is my me thing. That's my self-care to the fullest. With traveling not being a high on the radar right now because of the pandemic and everything.
Mhm.
There's a I live close to what we call Lake Murray here in South
Okay.
Carolina. So I go to the lake on different days and I'll just sit in my car with the windows down, the sunroof open, and just take that in as well. And look, imagine I'm on somebody island when I'm looking at the water because I need my travel.
So with within your travels, what would you say is the most interesting place that you've been, and then also where's your favorite place to go?
So the most interesting place that I've been was China.
Okay.
Uh, I don't like China, but the most interesting place that I've been that I loved,
Mhm.
contemplated even moving there, was Bali.
Okay.
Um, I was in Bali trying to set up business deals while
Mm.
I was there because I was like, oh, I'm moving here. The cost of living was good, um,
Mhm.
and the freeness of it, the atmosphere was just so beautiful. So Bali was my place, like the favorite place to go. And I'm sorry, what was the other part of the question?
No, it's just yeah. What was your favorite place? Because well, most interesting you said was China, and then you said your favorite place is Bali. And Bali, was it the scenery, or was it just the freeness of you know just the freeness of the place? What makes it your favorite place?
Definitely the freeness,
Okay.
um, and the people. They lived a lifestyle that seemed like they were unbothered.
Okay.
Like even in the mornings, we were up early in the morning, probably like 5, 6 a.m. And the kids are going to school. I'm from the islands. I'm from Jamaica, so the freeness definitely for me was like check mark. They're on bikes, they're riding. It's a clan. It's like 100 people, no exaggeration. I have videos. It's like 100 kids at a time, and they're just riding their bikes to school.
Mhm.
You have the people going to work. They're riding their bikes because it's a country that a lot of transportation is the motorized bikes.
Okay.
You see people riding on the bikes with their animals on it, the goats, the cats, the dogs. Like it was just so free, and the people were so friendly even with the language barrier, they were just so free, so friendly. It was inviting. Everything about that place was inviting.
That's good. Might have to check Bali out.
Yeah, Bali's a
Um,
good trip, and it's inexpensive. Bali and Thailand, they're both inexpensive. They might cost a little bit to get there, but
mhm.
once you get there, it's very inexpensive.
So you hear that, people? Instead of going to Vegas and keeping it local, if you can get your passport, travel abroad. It's definitely nice to see things outside of this country.
Definitely. I have back and forth disagreements. I ain't gonna say argument with my friends that want to go to Vegas and Miami all the time.
Mhm.
I'm Vegas out because
Yeah.
of retail. Like Vegas and the West Coast, I used to go and meet with my vendors directly.
Mhm.
So going for a regular trip, it kind of bores me at this point because of I usually go normally 3 to 4 times a year.
Mhm.
Nothing against it. It's good environment. But after going so many times for business, it's like I don't want to go there. Every time I get there, my mind is set on business. It's really not fun for me. And
Yeah.
I don't want to keep gambling. I normally lose my money. So let me use those dollars for something that's going to give me new perspective on something. And the amount of money, and I was where I was going with is the amount of money that you spend on Vegas and Miami, you can take a full trip
Hmm.
internationally. A lot of my trips are normally 7 days or more. I don't do really weekend trips.
Hmm.
But our trip to Bali, so we did Bali and China at the same time. We just went to China, I think two like a couple of days before and a couple of days after. I
Okay.
always try to do two trips at the same time.
Okay.
That's another one. That's a travel hack, y'all.
Yeah.
So our trip, as far as the 10 days is concerned, the trip was half the cost of a Miami trip.
Wow.
And it could have been cheaper. But while we was there, I went with a group of my friends and we splurge a little bit. Like this is how we splurge. We
Hmm.
get a driver when we get there. We get a personal photographer that follows us around the whole time we there so we can get content for our
Hmm.
travel business. And then food. The food is very inexpensive. I know a lot of people like to go to resorts where they have the all you can eats.
Hmm.
Kind of overrated for me. You get you an Airbnb and you get you a chef and it's local lifestyle.
Yeah.
So definitely if you got the Vegas and the Miami dollars, the 2, 3 grand, go international. And just being able to see other people, other cultures, you come back with so much more for the mind. Is a lot of diversity when you go international.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing. I think some of my other guests, especially my guests from back home, that's the thing. They said a lot of people, have never been outside of Patterson, which is crazy. But you everybody wants to go to Vegas, everybody wants to go to Miami. And I tell people until I move down here to where I am now, I actually didn't travel as much. I thought I was doing something. I've been to South America, went back to, where my mother is from and everything, but I thought that was it. But then when you start, like you said, traveling abroad and you get to see more things, it's a great thing. It's humbling, and it teaches you the value of of other cultures and different foods and stuff like that. But to your point, I'm like you. I'm Vegas out. The one place I haven't gotten tired of going to yet is New Orleans. I love the food. If nothing else, I love to go to New Orleans. Um, so for as far as the pandemic goes, how have you managed to keep yourself? I don't know if sane is a good word for this, but how have you managed to stay sane with all of the craziness that has been going on during the pandemic?
So during the pandemic, for me, I got closer. I got a more personal, intimate relationship with God. I became more spiritual. I started reading the Bible more, just understanding myself more as well. The pandemic for me was a time of just getting to know who you are, what you're destined to be, and the things that you can change. A lot of us saw a lot of people. I'm not gonna say us because I didn't in the beginning. I did see it as a negative,
Yeah.
especially with canceling trips.
Mhm.
But after a while, the time that we were able to spend with ourselves and spend with our families, that close knit environment of not being able to leave home,
Mhm.
um, it gave you some real core values: family time,
Yeah.
me time. What can you do for me today that you've always wanted to do? Some of us, me definitely, let me clean out this attic. It was just like real to do things that you don't get time to do. Because
Mhm.
even on the weekends when you're working, that those things get overlooked. So pandemic for me definitely gave me a time to just appreciate the normal activities of life. Like I really woke up some days with no structure. It was just like, what can I do today that I wanted to do and I didn't have the time to do?
Yeah. And that's good. I'm like you. I always tell people when the pandemic first hit, I was like, I was worried for a whole different reason because my wife and I work sort of different schedules. we would see each other sort of in passing. So when the pandemic hit, it was just like, oh shoot, now I'm home. We're gonna be home all the time together. And in my head, I know I could be a handful. So I'm just like, I'm gonna drive her crazy. So it's just like us being home together all of this time with, really nowhere to go. And that was my biggest fear, is just like, I hope I don't drive this woman crazy. And after the pandemic, she'll like get the hell out. So for me, that's what the pandemic did for me, though. It showed me that, all right, cool. You two can be, around each other for long periods of time. Not that we don't deserve our own me time, but it showed us that, look, you two can be stuck in the house together and everything's gonna be fine. So that's one thing I took out of the pandemic. Um, so we go. Let's go back to Patterson. So coming up, what was your what was your dream job, or what did you want to do growing up?
It is definitely nothing that I'm doing now. So growing up, I was fascinated with computers, and my dream job was working for NASA. I just knew I was gonna work for NASA. Go to MIT and just work for NASA. Neither of the two happened.
But it led you to where you are now. So but so did you end up going to college? And if you did, what did you study in college?
I did. So I went to New Jersey Institute of Technology, so NJIT, right there in Newark, New Jersey. I stayed homebound for a little bit, and my major was what it was. So I went to tech for high school, and
Mhm.
my major was computer science, and that rolled right on over to NJIT. I got accepted for computer science, and that's what I stuck with.
And then when you got, not, and I hate to say ask it this way, but did you, I know you had the passion for it, but seeing in what you're doing now, have you ever looked back and say, okay, I wish I would have studied something else, or have you found a way to incorporate what you picked up in college into what you're doing today?
So let's just keep it real about college. College for me, I was more focused on the people, like meeting new people, because
Mhm,
NJIT was very diverse. I wasn't really book focused when I got to college. All
mhm,
the focus that I had in high school was not there when I got to college. So I didn't even finish college.
okay.
But what I would say college did for me was the connections. I am friends with a lot of the people that I went to college with. Um, and people won't even know that I didn't graduate from college. I still go to alumni events. Um, but the connections that I made there was the most important thing. Even now in my different businesses, um, I still interact with, like I said, with a lot of my college professors, my college classmates, even admin.
Mhm.
So mine was a network adventure. It wasn't the degree. I went and it was networking, and I networked with some great people that are still in my life to this day.
And and for me, it's good to hear you say that, because I know people have, feel a certain way about hearing this, but I always try to tell people, I think everybody should try college, because it's not for everybody. I mean,
Right.
if we're honest with ourselves, it's not for everybody, but everyone should at least try it, because you pick up different things in college, whether it's time management, whether it's the networking aspect, or, some people teaches them structure. And so I'm glad to hear you say that, just to let people know, it's like, hey, look, go give it a try. I mean, give it a good solid try, and see what you can pull out of it. Because like I said, some people are built for college, and it's not to say that, from an education standpoint, that you can't do it, but it's, you found your passion, and you went to college, you found your passion doing something else, and like you said, you didn't graduate. Same for me. I didn't I didn't graduate college either. I went William Patterson. I've been all over the place for to a different couple colleges, but found my way into what I'm doing now. Still ended up with, working federal government jobs and things of that nature. So it's all in what you do with your connections and the times that you had in college and stuff.
definitely.
So for what you do now, have you been back home at all to for any reason? And the only reason I ask that is I think since I've left Patterson in '03, I want to say I think I've been back five, maybe six times. And it's not that I don't want to go back, it's I want a reason to go back. Like when the pandemic is all over, I want to go back to Patterson and I want to, do a speaking engagement or something there. So have you been back to Patterson and for any reason outside of family?
So I still have family there. My mom's still there, my grandmother's still there.
Okay.
I go to Patterson normally every year. Sometimes it's a sneak in, sneak out situation.
Hmm.
Literally less than 24 hours. My flight will land that morning and I'm on the next flight that night or the very next morning. So when I tell you sneak in and sneak out, if you did not live in the perimeters of across the street, around the corner, in the midst of Newark to Patterson, you probably didn't even know I was there until I put a post up like, "Bye, mom." Like this trip was good. But yeah, I definitely do the sneak-ins.
Hmm.
I'm infamous for the sneak-ins, and the neighbors they know. I
Yeah.
definitely sneak in, and then I get there and expect to get on your schedule like, "Yo, you want to go do lunch real quick?" Karen, I'm at work. So yes, I go back very frequently. It was even a point where I moved back home.
Mhm.
2015. I want to say I was back in Jersey for a year, I believe.
Yeah.
Um, if not a little bit shy of a year, but they almost had me for 12 months, Jay. They almost had me for a whole 12 months. And I came back to South Carolina in 2016. And then I went back once last year
Okay.
for my uncle's funeral.
Mhm.
He was like, he got hit like right before COVID hit. And I said hit. Well, he passed away in February. And I have not been home since then because of the pandemic. Then my mom is super scary. She
Mhm.
like, don't
Don't.
come here.
So when you went back in 2015, how was your what? And for the people back home that see this, I'm not bashing Patterson. I still love Patterson. What was your take on Patterson when you went back in 2015?
Some things have changed and some things did not. That was really it. But I definitely wanted just for our our people, our neighborhood, the people that we grew up with, definitely explore different things outside of Patterson. Like even if you don't want to move, and that's for anyone, I mean, and it goes for anyone in any state, any city, there's so much more than what your environment is. And you won't know about it unless you leave where you are. That's it. Like really simply said, just give it a try. Leave and come back, even for a weekend.
I mean, it's crazy that and like you said, it doesn't matter where you are, you run into this because I know, once I moved down to the DC area, it was amazing where people were like, and this is no joke. I was at a club somewhere and this dude, we were talking to somebody, and the guy was like, "Oh, you from where? From Patterson?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Is that north or south?" And it threw me for a loop, and I was just like, "Say what?" It was like north or south. I'm like, New Jersey. He's like, "Oh man, I ain't never been there." And I'm like, "Damn, it's 3-4 hours up the road." And like you said, people just they're afraid to leave their comfort zone, and they're doing themselves a big disservice because it's so many things to see. And I hate to say this, but I've been here in the DC area, and I don't think I've ever been to the monument. And I've been here for 18 years now, and
So
it's the same thing, and I think I take it for granted because it is so close. But like you said, you got to step out and travel more. And during the COVID, it's not that I know that's not going to happen now. But once it opens back up, I think everything would be good to go. So what so do you have any big plans for once everything opens back up and goes to normal, whatever the new normal is going to be? Do you have any big plans for any of your businesses or ventures?
Um, my big plans is living every day. I have a new project that I'm releasing within the next couple of weeks, which is called the Vision Box,
Hmm.
which is helping people, well, helping women necessarily stay accountable and um, basically just helps them stay accountable on their vision of what they're trying to become. A
Yeah.
lot of us are into vision boards. It has grown immensely over the past couple of years, even the past couple of months because of the pandemic, and the box itself just helps you in growth, in your finances, in your travel life, in your spiritual life. It just keeps you accountable on hitting your goals, and that's going to be something very major. There's nothing else like it. I've checked, I've
Mhm.
done my research on it, so that's going to be my next big thing is the vision box.
Okay. And is it do you and I know you said for women, but with any and I guess that's more of a personal venture. Do you do anything not counting the travel and stuff for or with men at all, or is it or are you and there's nothing wrong with it, I'm just asking the question. Or is it mainly focused on women?
All of the services that I normally provide um, are catered to women.
Okay.
My purpose has always been to help women. A lot of the women that I help are entrepreneurs. Um, I do work with men,
Mhm.
but a lot of my services cater to women.
Okay. And if you don't mind sharing, and what are some of those services that you have or offer?
Okay, so I have a business. It's called Beauty and Beast Mode. With that, I do a luncheon, normally 3 to 4 times a year, where I have uh, adolescents ages 13 to about 18, and then I have adult women, and we basically help them birth their purposes.
Okay.
Um, if a young girl wants to start a lip gloss line or she wants to start a retail business, I have other entrepreneurs that are there that's able to help them. Like, we speak into others, we help them, we give them whatever resources that they need to make sure that these things happen. So the beauty and beast mode movement by itself has so many different services
Mhm.
because it's women in different fields and different environments.
Okay.
um, of course, the shoe industry, all I did was women's shoes. So
Mhm.
that was a service that was given. Um, so yes, and when I say my service is really, it's everything that I'm involved in always has women as the forefront. I have a gift. I speak directly to women. I see issues that we have,
Mhm.
and I get I have fixes for them. Um, and I'm a big believer, especially now that when you see problems and you get the solution to the problems, because that's what you're destined to do. God
Mhm.
has given you that download to fix those issues. Me not being a male, it's not as easy for me to see the issues that you guys go through, but
Yeah.
it's easier for me to see the issues that we as females go through. And those are the things that I try to fix or become part of the solution for.
And I think that that's a good thing. A lot of just reading some of the or hearing the news or reading different things in the news, it's crazy how people find issue with somebody focusing on one issue, whether it's Black Lives Matter or whatever the case is. I'm like, okay, if there's an issue there that, like you said, that you can fix, what's the issue with you focusing on that problem? If there's something there to where, I can help men, because like you said, I can't speak to, what women go through. I don't I don't know. I haven't, been through that issue or that problem. So I think that's a great thing, to focus on one thing, because I found myself doing that, trying to, spread myself thin. Like, all right, if I do something, it has to include everybody. All right, I can't speak for everybody. I can't speak for, young women. I see what they go through and I may want to help, but me helping might be just me giving a couple dollars here and there or assisting my wife or whoever's doing something to help the young women. So I think that's a great thing that you're doing. And at some point, do you plan to go back to Patterson to to offer the services, or are your services only fixed to where you are now?
I could take it on the road. Is It was already something I was talking about with a friend of mine.
Okay.
Shout out to Courtney. She has an event company in Jersey, Madison and Court Events, and we talked about doing my brunches there.
Okay.
We talked about it, but we didn't execute it. So
Mhm.
after the pandemic, it'll definitely be something that her and I can talk about again, because it can definitely be brought to different places. It does not have to just be here in
Mhm.
South Carolina. I could take the event anywhere. All I need basically is just like-minded women that are willing to give their time and give efforts and resources, and a helping hand. A lot of times, some of us don't even need resources or money. We just need a helping hand. We just need
Yeah.
someone to just tell us or help us with the process. So it could be taken anywhere as long as I have a good support system.
And that's good. And I think that's for for everything now that I think the boys and girls, but we're focusing on the women right now. But especially for the young ladies, I think that's good that they, and for all of the women out there in Patterson that are doing different things, this applies to you too. But I'm just speaking to Karen and Courtney since those are the two names that just came up. But I think that's good for them, for the young women, especially in Patterson, to see people that they may know, people that look like them, coming back to work with them and help out. Because me personally, and I hate to sound like the old man, but all of the crap on TV between basketball wives, love, and hip hop, like I said, it's great entertainment, but it sucks when a lot of these young women and men, see all of this stupidness on TV and they think that that's actual life. And it's like, no, things that you're doing and Courtney and all of the other people in Patterson or wherever that hears or sees this interview. I think it's a great thing when you all go back to give to, your hometown or just women in need, period. Doesn't matter where it is. I think that's great. So, and trying to think how to formulate this question. I'll skip over that. So, um, so with everything that you do, what would you say is your baby? What is your I know you everything you do is a passion of yours, but what's the one thing that you say, you know what? This I really love this. The one thing that you would never get tired of.
Everything I do sums up to one thing, and that's helping others.
Okay.
It's not always about you. Is who you can help, that at the end of the day probably can't even repay you, but
Mhm.
who can you breathe life into? There's so many other things that people can get into that are negative. How can I bring life to positiveness? How can I birth something positive out of you? So everything that I do always goes back to the main thing, and that's helping someone become a better them.
That's good. And where do you get the energy and that drive from? Is it from your mother, your grandmother, or where do you get that passion and that drive from?
So definitely, it's gonna be my four ladies, my daughter,
Hmm.
my sister, my mother, and my grandmother. That's my heart. Like that's my heart in human form. And they're all in different generations. So the impact on each generation is going to be a little bit different when you think about helping others. For my daughter and my sister, they're kind of in the same generation. So
Okay.
it's leading them into the right direction where they need to be, being that helping hand. making sure that I am a base model, or a role model of what they can be. Like, it doesn't just stop with me. We have generational curses that we need to break. My mother's generation is, of course, every mother wants to know that their child is doing right.
Yeah.
um so for my mom, is just making her proud, and for that generation is helping the women that are my age or younger than me do right, so
Hmm.
that the mothers can be proud of them. And then the older generation, like our grandparents, is letting them know that everything that they fought for, some of our grandmothers were in the slavery ages, or in the stages where they could not speak as they wanted to, they could not go where they want to. So even that stage of life is just knowing that we will continue to keep this fight going, that the fight didn't stop with them, that we're going to keep making sure that we are heard, and that we are seen, and that we're making changes, and that we're going to break these generational curses and create generational wealth
Yeah.
for the future, basically. So all of them, all four of them, just touch and motivate me to do what I need to do each and every day.
Okay. So, um, do you have anything, any questions, anything that you want to say before before we get to, I guess, the end of the interview?
Just keep your head up, always go for what you know. Matter of fact, I take that back. Don't even go for what you know. Because a lot of times, what we know is what hinders us from becoming our greatest version of who we need to be. We'll say, I can't do that. But if you don't ever try or even go out on a limb, um, you'll never be able to see what your greatest accomplishment can be. So failure waits to success. I'm not going to say every time that you put your hand on something that's going to turn to gold. But the more things you touch, the more things you try, the more you step outside the box, you are one step away, one thing away, one opportunity away from being your greatest version of yourself. So never stop trying, never give up, keep going. The thing or the person that you're meant to be can just be one decision away, and you'll never know if you just stop at where you're comfortable at. Life is a journey. We got to keep going.
Most definitely. So, how can the people get in contact with you for any of your services, or, just to follow you on the different social media platforms?
So first and foremost, my website is self-titled. It's KarenTLewis.com. On social media, I have a few different handles. If I'm on Facebook, it's Karen Coco Lewis. I stick Coco in there because a lot of people know me by that nickname, especially through college stages and high school. On my other social medias, KTL Travels, KTL Lifestyle, KTL 525, and Beauty and Beast Mode SC. But Karen T. Lewis will keep them connected in all areas. And of course, my new project, visionbox.club, and my podcast, The Layover. So, but if they go to KarenTLewis.com, everything is there. Every direction that I'm in, the website will take you in.
Well, I definitely appreciate you coming on and doing this. And like I said, I hope to, hey, maybe work with you in the future. Yeah, bring you on again because I want to do a group form with women, because I get a lot of DMs and emails saying you don't work with women. And so no, it's not that I don't work with women. Women are, at least for what I want to talk about, it, things like this. Women have been a little harder to coordinate with, to get on here. I mean, I'm all for it, especially the women back home in Patterson. I would love to get more women on. And just so you know, you're the first woman from Patterson to be on here with me.
Oh, that's super dope. Well, make sure you reach out to my sister Jay. She from the neighborhood. You should know Courtney Willis.
Oh yeah, I know. I went to
So make
school with her.
sure to my sister. And look, neighborhood, keep the neighborhood tight.
There we go. I said that's all about giving back, showing males, females, all who watch, that we can do bigger things outside of Patterson other than sports and music.
That's true. Well, we got some dope sports and music people from Madison too.
Oh yeah, no, Patterson has it all. But I always tell people, I said I want people to know that we have a lot to offer in Patterson, and it's not all doom and gloom like the news would want you to believe. But Patterson has a lot, and I hope that this I'm Coming Home series that I do, spotlights that for all to see. That all right, Patterson is not as bad as they say it is. Because down here, had a lady ask me where I was from. I told her Patterson. She was like, "Ooh, I heard about Patterson." I was like, "Well, damn, man, what did you
Word.
hear?" So it's not that bad. I'm like, I'm
Right.
here. I said I represent Patterson no matter where I go. So,
I
but
definitely wear P-Town. I've met so many people here from Patterson, older women, people I went to school with, people in Crossing. Um, Patterson's we kind of like everywhere.
yeah, and we have to wear it as a badge of honor. Like, look, we made it. We represent Patterson. What you see in the news might be, a small part of Patterson, but it's in every city, every state, every country. They have that one or two bad spots, but Patterson, we're full of good people. We just need that spotlight and that push to bring that out of us. But but it was fun having you on. I appreciate your time, and you all go check her out on her different platforms. Set your travel up for when this COVID thing ends, whenever it ends, and be on the lookout for, you said, Vision Box.
Yes, the Vision Box. And like I said, everything can you can follow up with me through KarenTLewis.com. I even have a contact page there. So anybody need to reach out for anything, I respond back. I always do, especially to my Patterson folks.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you again, and I look forward to talking to you and seeing you again.
Thank you, Jay. You have a good one.
You too.
Bye bye.